Cedar Point is America's roller coaster. Opening in 1870, it's been leading the way when it comes to roller coasters for over a century, and it remains the biggest destination for coaster fans around the country. This is the place to be, combining quality and quantity, opening their 18th operating coaster in 2025. I've been here 8 times between 2002 and 2023, so I've gotten a bunch of rides on most of their coasters, and as good as they are, they could be better. Today, let's grab Richard Zimmerman's credit card and go around the park and find one way to improve every coaster at Cedar Point. First, I want to thank my Patreons and my new member, Stuart McFerrin. If you want bonus access, bonus content, behind the scenes videos, a shout out when you join, and your name on this fancy Patreon screen, follow the link below and join. Some coasters have easy fixes, some are more challenging, and some are downright ridiculous. So I'm giving each one a possibility grade. We'll go from easy, it can be done today with no effort, to medium, would take some effort and money, to hard, would take a pretty significant effort, to fantasy, things that are just not realistic. Let's enter the park, turn right, and find the coaster that dominates the main entrance, the B&M Wing Coaster, Gatekeeper. They spared no expense for this one. 170 feet tall, 6 inversions, almost 4,200 feet of track. It's even got an airtime hill. It's got near-miss elements right over the front gate. And yet, some people call it Gate Sleeper, implying it's forceless. That is partially true, and I think the one thing that rubs people the wrong way is the finale. After the mid-course brake run, and I call it mid-course loosely, it's pretty much at the end of the ride. It just goes into a slow helix in the right ends. Even if they just kept the helix and threw in one more inversion, making it an even 7, just add a slow heartline roll before the final brakes, that would be so much better. I call this a hard change. Anytime you're changing a layout, that's going to take some work, but since we're just altering a small section, I don't think it's pure fantasy. Staying on the boardwalk, we passed by one of their newest coasters, their 2023 Zamperla Twister coaster called Wild Mouse. There's not much that can be done here. It's designed to be compact. Those twists and turns help the car spin freely, and they have 7 cars to help keep that line moving, even though it only seats 4 per car. Those cars are themed to the different cats they display in the queue, except for one. That one is the cheese car. At first, I thought the cheese car would offer a special experience, and that didn't turn out to be the case. I thought that would be cool, so that's my fix. Make the cheese car an upcharged experience, give it a motor, and it can have randomized powered spinning. I consider this hard. I think it can be done, but I don't think that exists right now, so it would take some development. Still, it seems plausible enough to not just be a fantasy, and since it would have an upcharge, the park might be more motivated to give it a shot. As we continue to walk to the back of the park, we have Corkscrew, their 1976 era looper, and the first coaster to ever sport 3 inversions. This coaster is very jarring, somewhat in a good way, mostly in a bad way. The first drop, ejector airtime hill, and first loop are all insane, and the rest of the ride is just jerky. Their best bet is to replace the old Aero trains and get new Vekoma ones that have a vest restraint. This would knock out all the headbanging for smaller riders, and it would hold you better in place during that crazy first half. That would be a lot easier on your body. I'm calling this a medium change. We've seen old Aeros get this train upgrade before, so they just need to fork over the money and do it. Right next door, we have Top Thrill 2, the 2024 renovation of Top Thrill Dragster, offering a brand new ride experience, replacing the hydraulic launch with a swing launch, adding a back spike. I admit, I have not gotten to ride this. I planned on getting to Cedar Point last year, but this opened for 8 days and was done for the year, so I missed my chance and I'll have to wait for next year. People who did get to ride it seem to love it, so that's a good sign. I heard it's shaky, but that could have just been from the old trains that couldn't handle the forces. I have one improvement that would definitely make the ride more fun. Add a small airtime hill on that launch track. Pantheon has this on his swing launch, and when you fall back down the top hat and go over it backwards, that is one elite jarring airtime moment. I don't see why Top Thrill 2 can't do this also. I think this is a hard change. It would require all new track, but it wouldn't change the layout. So, definitely possible, albeit unlikely. From one record breaker to another, let's ride Magnum XL 200, the first full circuit coaster to stand over 200 feet. This is a very polarizing coaster. Some hate it for being rough. Others like me love it for being an airtime machine. I do not, however, love the trains, and my change would be to get new ones. Aero Hypers were not blessed with good trains. They're small. They have those heavy lap bars they'd love to push down. Something modern would be amazing. Something like Phantom's Revenge. That used to be an Aero, and Morgan fashioned those awesome trains from the old ones. I'd love to see something from B&M, like how they gave new trains a Steel Dragon 2000, but the airtime might be too strong for those clamshells. There's options out there, so I think this is a medium change. Just need to find the right company for the job. Right next door, we have another Aero classic, the dueling hybrid known as Gemini. This arrow is even older than the last one by 11 years, so those trains aren't great either. It could definitely use some new ones, but the ride experience isn't as impacted by the trains. It's not as fast and the airtime isn't as intense. Based on my last ride, I think they need to smooth it out. Gemini is hit or miss. I'd say 2 out of every 3 times it's running fine, but that third time really punches you in your kidneys. My opinion dropped based on that 2023 ride, so this medium change would be much appreciated, especially since this is a very, very long ride. Let's pop into the kids area and ride the coaster that stands in the shadow of Gemini, and used to be known as Junior Gemini, Wilderness Run. It is the smallest coaster in the park. It is made for small kids, but it's also a piece of coaster history. It's the first coaster Intamin ever made back in 1979. Because of this fact alone, I think the park should let everyone ride. Right now, if you're over 54 inches tall, you have to have a child ride with you, so it's not an issue where the ride can't handle it. They just want to free up the space for the kids. That makes sense. I'm not going to throw a fit over that, but this would just be an easy change. Just let everyone ride the world's first Intamin. Camp Snoopy's other coaster is Woodstock Express, the Vekoma Jr. coaster from 1999. This isn't just any Vekoma Jr., it's their 335-meter version, and it's kind of a monster when it comes to kids coasters. 43 feet tall, 1,100 feet of track, it's really no joke. The ride is fine for what it is, so my change would be to add more in-ride theming. It's weird to say, but Magic Mountain's Vekoma Jr. coaster does a good job with this, and Cedar Point's is just barren. This is a medium change. Add some Snoopy or Woodstock theming. It wouldn't take much. A few wood cutouts, maybe a statue, maybe a tunnel. Just dress it up. Around the corner is another old Arrow, their 1969 mine train called Cedar Creek Mine Ride. A lot of Arrow mine trains have a nice train layout, but at Cedar Point, that's not really an option. They still did a good job with the setting, keeping the track away from the footpaths, a lot of it being set over Cedar Point Lake, and my fix would be to take better advantage of that lake. On that dropper, it rides right along the water. It would be awesome if it actually went below the water line. That stretch of track surrounded by fountains, almost simulating the train splashing into the water. This would be a hard change. You would have to dig the trench, reprofile this part to have it dip down a few more feet. Nothing super major, but enough to make this a major commitment. Finally, we've reached the back corner of the park, and the RMC masterpiece known as Steel Vengeance. It's hard to complain about this coaster. It's over a mile long and has more airtime than any other coaster on the planet. Most people seem to complain about the locker system, having to go through TSA to ride it, or the difficulty of getting the row you want. This is annoying, but to make the ride better, I say they need to keep the mid-course brake run turned off. This was not a problem when the ride opened, but the last time I rode it, I felt the train slow down, and that took away a lot of the bite in the second half. I did get some extra hang time on those final inversions, but I'd rather have the airtime and whip. So, take the easy path and turn off the brakes like they always seem to do before. Frontier Town has one more signature coaster, the Intamin Blitz from 2007. Maverick, showing the coaster world that bigger isn't always better. I've never liked the restraints. I mean, yeah, the soft straps are way better than the hard restraints it used to have, but that big bulky bar in your lap just isn't my jam. I could ask for Velocicoaster style lap bars, but I have one better one for Maverick. Turn off the trims after the mid-course launch. I call this one of the biggest buzzkills in the coaster world, flying out of that tunnel at 70 miles an hour, only to turn the corner and hit the brakes. They already had to remove the Heartline roll at the end. At least, give us that second half at full speed. All that extra airtime and whip would be insane, and it's an easy change. Just turn them off and hope the trains don't tear themselves apart. We have a long walk down the west side of the park, and you start seeing that brilliant blue track emerge in front of you. That's Millennium Force, the world's first Giga coaster coming in 2000. This is one of the world's longest coasters, has a great drop, great trains. It just has too many overbanks, and my change is simple. Replace some of those overbanks with something else. More airtime hills, an upward helix, a non-inverting half loop, just enough with the boring overbanks. This is pure fantasy. It makes zero sense to do this. The ride is what it is. I just don't know what else to do to improve the ride, so I gotta live with this fantasy. Across the path and across the railroad tracks, you have Rugaroo, the former B&M stand-up from 1996 known as Mantis, renovated for the 2015 season. This ride's biggest problem is the fact it was built to be a stand-up. B&M never put an element like a zero-G roll on a stand-up, but those are staples on floorless coasters, and usually the best part of the rides. So my solution is to add a zero-G roll somewhere in the layout. Give the coaster a standout element it so badly needs. Sadly, I'm back in the realm of fantasy. It's more likely than replacing Millennium Force's overbanks, but overhauling the layout to add one more zero-G roll is something Cedar Point and B&M would laugh at. Heading down toward the front of the park, you find another Arrow set over the lake, the suspended coaster called Iron Dragon. This is one of the mild suspended coasters, 2 lift hills, the second half being way better than the first half. And a big reason for that is the finale. It has a series of swooping turns over the water, but the lake effects don't always seem to be working. My solution is to ensure those effects are always on. The fountain, the fog, This is the highlight of the ride, the only reason it's worth riding, so make that finale count. This is an easy change. Sure, it does cost money to keep this stuff on, but assuming they have it in place, you just have to make sure it's maintained and working. It doesn't seem like a super hard ask. Across the path, we have the brand new for 2025 coaster, the Vekoma Tilt Coaster Sirens Curse. Obviously, I have not ridden this yet, nor have I ridden a Vekoma Tilt Coaster, so I'm kind of in uncharted waters. This will have the classic Vekoma vest, and those can be quite restrictive, especially when you have a ride that looks to have great hang time and airtime like this. If they did get lap bars, this might be weird when you're hanging at a vertical angle, so I think those restraints are reasonable. This coaster is themed to water, but doesn't appear to have any water in sight. If they plan to keep this around long term and not move it to another park, they should give it a water setting. It doesn't make sense for Sirens Curse to take place over dirt and grass. I'll put this as hard. It may even be medium, but I don't know what it would take to get water in that plot, and it might be more of an effort than it lets on in my head. Next door, we have another coaster that holds you at a vertical angle, the B&M Dive from 2016, Val Raven. Most people seem to have a problem with the new B&M dives and that vest restraint. The older ones like Griffin and Shikra have the regular B&M horse collar, and you get nice airtime on those drops. This would technically be a restraint downgrade, but it would make the ride better. Another new trend on dive coasters is to give it a drop beyond 90 degrees, and that's my solution for Val Raven. That extra kick turns a gentle drop into an intense one, and I call this a hard change. Like most of my retrack ideas here, it would take a serious effort and new track from B&M, but it's centered on one part of the track, so it's not totally unrealistic. Leaving Val Raven, the next coaster you run into is Cedar Point's oldest operating coaster, Blue Streak, dating back to 1964. This out-and-back wooden coaster has some great airtime, but the last time I rode it, it tried to jackhammer the brains right out of my ears. I would love to enjoy that airtime without riding in a paint mixer, so my solution is to smooth it out. Call the Gravity Group. They've been doing a lot of work in the Cedar Fair, now Six Flags chain. Fix those problem spots in the valleys, and I say this is a medium change. It would take some money, but they just have to let Gravity Group work their magic. Finally, on your way out of the park, you've reached Raptor, one of the biggest and finest B&M inverts in the world. This has such a great layout and is so intense, especially when that mid-course brake run is turned off. I've ridden this a bunch of times where the train blows right through it, and it makes those final corkscrews and that final helix that much more intense. So my solution is to keep that mid-course turned off at all times. Like with all my anti-brake solutions, this one is easy. Raptor thrives on intensity, so the faster it's going in that second half, the better. Just to recap, of the 18 coasters here, 5 have easy solutions, things that can be done with a snap of anyone's finger. 5 others have medium changes, adding theming or replacing trains or getting a retrack. 6 are marked as hard. These are mostly minor reprofiles to make certain elements better, or to add an extra element. And then the last 2 are fantasy. These are significant overhauls to the layouts of Millennium Force and Rugaroo. That's a wrap on my fixes of Cedar Point's coasters. Let me know what you think of my ideas, and if you have another solution for any of these rides, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. If you want to see more episodes in this series, I have a playlist, that link's down below. Also, check out my second channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.